Life is brutal, but it isn't my fault. We don't need to go far to find the horrors, pains, and sorrows in life. Multiple deadlines catching up, once great friendships going sour, quarrels back home piling up. There's always something, but that something never starts with us. We stand there as the waves of troubles follows us, never leaving us behind. We no longer live in a bubble because bubbles pop eventually. We've advanced. That's why the latest trend is to put on a filter. A filter is attached right on top of our true selves, the warm glowing hue radiating out onto our physical viewers in real life. We portray this behavior confidently to our viewers and we act it out. We behave in a way that our chosen filters would allow us to act, to the point that we are in belief of our own lies. Eventually, we can't even see through the smoke and mirrors anymore. We have grown used to deceiving ourselves, lying positively for ourselves, rejecting the haters who only want to bring us down. We're just cushioning to stay afloat for as long as possible, unbeknownst to us, making the fall from grace unnecessarily harder. I did not realize how true this was until I started using Mr. Google to answer all my life crisis-driven problems. Examples of my adventures with Mr. Google included questions similar to, why doesn't he love me as much as he did before? Or why am I not getting that grade or promotion that I so rightfully deserve? Or even, why don't my family understand me anymore? Let me round out the answers almost always given to you. It goes something like this. You poor, pitiful creature, you. Everybody is out there purposely trying to get you. Leave them before they hurt you any further. It felt good being told that I was not wrong. Being the so-called wrong party, we might not see the pattern causing this epidemic. What is this epidemic? It's a passing of blame. The blame never falls on the person that is asking. It's always someone else, something else. When we constantly push blame and reject responsibility, we are only honing the skills of redirection, making later amendments in life unnecessarily harder. Sometimes leaving is warranted, especially when there is suffering and abuse, but not the mundane everyday troubles. You see, we are our own biggest cheerleaders in life. Why shouldn't we be in a world that gives us none? We won't always be surrounded by loving, understanding, sympathetic, and most of all, energetic people in our lives. But we are emotional creatures. We want only to feel good and to think well of ourselves. And even with the best intentions, we lie. Once we get to this point of life, our life will reach a stagnant halt. Every day would seem unfulfilling where it used to once bring sufficient contentment. This stagnation can hit for many years before we realize we've not only hit and surpassed rock bottom, we've been digging deeper into a new interpersonal abyss. I was there not long ago, and the idea of how I can start to make myself feel better was looming over my head, taunting me to face it. What was this idea? It was painfully simple, that I should have been brutally honest with myself from the start. The idea is simple enough, difficult to truly understand, and even harder to implement. So I want to jump right into the reasons why we should be brutally honest with ourselves. I'd give only 4 reasons for today. Reason number 1, because no one will do it for us. Even the closest relationships will have its boundaries. We are human beings whose fundamental core is for connection and acceptance. What we are used to is a polite kind of honesty, something that is pleasing to the ears, but hits enough for us to believe that maybe the other party is being brutal. The friends who used to be brutally honest with us, no filter in their judgment, they're no longer our friends. Even the extent of even our deepest and closest friendships and relationship is for companionship and survival. People rarely want to rock the boat and make each other better off. And even if our friends were brutally honest to us and we accept the blows of realization, we should not put that responsibility on them. We should not rely on another person for our own self-growth. They have got their own issues and self-exploration and life crisis of their own. We should not become a willing burden, all in the name of love. Reason 2, because we won't grow when we are too comfortable. Being too comfortable does not necessarily mean that one is in cloud 9 and everything's going our way, and at least for the moment, we've peaked and there's no need to change. The context that I'm painting for you today is when one is too comfortable in what is familiar. When one is familiar with being unfulfilled, we'll believe and become too comfortable in believing this. Being too comfortable doesn't mean that one is in bliss. Being too comfortable could also mean that one has been acclimated too long in the suffering, and that wanting anything better for us in our life would be too difficult to even dream for. Third reason we should be brutally honest with ourselves, because toxicity goes both ways. Oftentimes, we side between one or the other. We either are in total belief that we are the toxic one or the other party is. What we fail to remember is toxicity goes both ways. One or the other could be toxic, or being together could be fueling each other's toxicity. The thing with toxicity in this nature is there's no machine to tell us how radioactive our surrounding has become. It can happen slow and subtle. We become comfortable with either being toxic or being around what is toxic. Most of us do not detach from these situations soon enough, because most of the time we want to be in these situations, maybe due to reputation, potential opportunities, or even loneliness. We mustn't forget that although we should detach ourselves from what is toxic, we should also keep in mind that it is easy to just fall into the trap of being toxic ourselves. Sometimes it's not just about saving our own mental health. Sometimes it's also about saving others from, well, us. Lastly, being brutally honest, reason 4. Because the ego is too strong. We are programmed to be together. Well, not you and I specifically, I mean all of us. No matter how much of a recluse we claim to be, there would always be a level of intimacy that we inculcate with a set group of living beings. Could be our drinking buddies on a Sunday, or the cats that we feed after work at the wet market. No one is free from the warmth or the glow or the chill of another human being. And as much as we are too embarrassed to admit, most of us wants to be acknowledged and appreciated and thanked and loved, wanted. But the ego is too strong. The ego is seen as the devil sitting on your shoulder, whispering no praise, giving you no chance to even try. The ego has good intentions. He has a partner in crime. The ego is heavily influenced by fear. Oftentimes, we know what we want at first, but later on, when we realize that it's not cool or accepted to like what we like, we shove our true feelings deeper down. can't hide it forever. The heart wants what it wants. And thus, that fear, with its knowledge of rejection, turns itself into ego. The ego is domineering, loud, and seemingly logical. The ego drowns us until it becomes our personality. But at the same time, what happens? We reject what we truly are and what we truly feel. We fear the rejection, so we act in such an unruly manner. At the end of the day, we are our own reasons for why we fail because we don't try. Here's one example. Imagine this. We finally found that someone that we can totally jive with. We move in a comfortable sprint together. Secretly, we fall in love. Then we just had to ruin everything by asking the other party. So where is this relationship headed? The other party says that they're not interested in anything serious or committed at the moment. But we don't feel the same. We want commitment and seriousness. We want pets and a home together, preferably with that person. So we become desperate. We fear losing that person. Then from that desperation comes fear that we won't find anyone else after this person. From there, we become ego. To save our face, we put aside our own feelings and give in. So we tell them that we say we want the same exact things, even though we don't. This is not a fairy tale. We all know what the most probable outcome is, and it would have saved us a lot of tears and pain and heartache if we were just brutally honest with ourselves from the start. Now that we've heard some of the reasons why we should be brutally honest with ourselves, we want to take action. Thankfully, the process is free, but not necessarily easy. Personally, for me, I realized I needed to make a change when I was stagnating too long. I was not moving backwards or becoming worse off. I was just not becoming better or moving forward in my life, even though I put in a lot of effort to do so. I was stuck, and it felt like, how could nothing be wrong, but feel so wrong at the same time? This will be a very simple easy step plan. First, we gotta start having conversations with ourselves. This can happen anywhere, as long as we are truly talking to ourselves. For me, this is not easy at all. I easily have 4 different conversations going on in my head. I can't stop them. But we've got to put away that voice of worry, that voice of sarcasm, and really get down to business. We got to dig deep and bring up the painful memories. Accept it as it comes along. Once we manage to quiet down our minds and have a conversation with our inner selves, comes part 2. As the title suggests, we should be brutally honest. Meaning, during said inner conversations, we should make it a point to not lie. We should always check in with ourselves. Check in that the questions and answers that we are posing with our own selves are truth, even if it means bringing up embarrassingly stupid past events or realizing how tragically awful we've been treating the people we so-called love. We have to play the role of check and balance. Because once we tell a lie, the consecutive conversation would not mean a thing because the foundation was a lie in the start. For me, it took many years to accept being brutally honest with myself. I could not face all the mistakes and failures that were my own. A lot of inner turmoil, loud conversations in my head, pushing and pulling with myself. But here I am now, on a TEDx stage, feeling proud of myself. There's no way I can wrap this whole idea up with 4 mere reasons, but I hope to at least open up the thought of this idea to one person. If I have done that, I would have been successful today. Nothing needs to be wasted. Regret should be the foundation of learning and growth. It should not become the emotional chain that stunts us. No doubt the truth hurts. Realizations of our mistakes and failures would be too much to face sometimes. But there is no better way around it than to go through it. Honesty should be brutal. Life doesn't have to be. Thank you.